All right, we're moving into the draft recap process, and I'm just going to go round by round, team by team. We're going to look at this now. So, the first thing that I want to talk about is we have my man David Sutton, who took round number one, and pick number one, and you went, no shocker here, Christian McCaffrey. So, David, as you're listening to this, I don't understand light roast. I have an idea. I don't know if it was because if that's something I said at the speech where I said, it's going to be a light roast. It's not going to be total roast. I don't know if that was why, and maybe you found it hilarious for some reason. I don't get it. I really, 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 really don't get it. There is something else, but I'm not sure if I want to say it. But bottom line, let's see how your team is constructed. Your starters as of right now. You have Patrick Mahomes, you have DeAndre Hopkins, you have Brandon Cooks, you have Christian McCaffrey, you have David Johnson, you have Evan Ingram at the tight end spot, you have Mark Ingram, both Ingrams, funny, and Christian Kirk. So you usually have a set strategy going in, okay? I think your perfect strategy in a perfect world is going to be running back, running back, running back, deep threat, more receivers. Yeah, let me find my handcuffs later on. I think that's how you always build your team, and you lose. I can't even talk. You usually take the tight ends at where the value is supposed to be. I know that like 2 years ago when you won it, you wound up with Ertz and Kelsey, and it was just because the receivers were gone, and I don't think the running backs were that good. Just because I think you started out with running backs back to back, so you felt like you didn't need a new one. So I feel like Evan Ingram at value was pretty decent. I think that this potentially could be pretty solid for you. If he pans out. Now, how is the roster constructed? I got to be honest, dude. I think it was very, very shocking that you went Pat Mahomes. My thought process and why you did that, worried about the new kids over drafting tight ends. That was one thing I thought. Maybe I scared you a bit with that, but I mean, I knew it was going to happen. I think, two of the elite guys went off earlier than expected. Maybe this was the guy you really, really wanted. And honestly, dude, I don't blame you. He covers, at least one hole that you might have on your team if he's 100% healthy. Bottom line was this. Patrick Mahomes didn't throw a touchdown in the Detroit Lion game last year, and I think he still got Paul like 23 points. That's insane. Unless you're, Lamar Jackson running for like 200 yards. Like, that doesn't happen. That does not happen, and which is why I still have him over Lamar in my rankings. Lamar's going to have a lot to kind of deal with and kind of, take that next step forward, if you will. So I like what you did there. Let's see how, running back wise, McCaffrey is fine, and I think he's going to make up for David Johnson's lousy performances that he might have. I'm not big on David Johnson at all. It was interesting to see when you did the trade with Paul that you took David Johnson and then you still went with Mark Ingram. I probably, looking back at it, where you took David Johnson, I would have taken a receiver around that range and then probably get Ingram because Ingram was a guy I was considering. And luckily, I was able to find a running back too. But, Ingram, I think in that offense is still going to be a touchdown, vulture. So I think he's fine. But it is very, very, you have a balanced setup. You have 3 running backs, you have 3 wide receivers that are in now. So let me just talk about them. The Arizona guys, Hopkins, I don't know if you really want him. It was just by value. You were like, you know what? I got to take him. Christian Kirk is a guy I really like for the value that you got, as you saw in the last video that I posted up. Kirk can definitely return a lot of value from where you got him. I think he's just that talented. I think he's, a bona fide stud. The guy that is risky, and I get him going to Houston, but Brandon Cooks and his concussion history, dude, I'm so nervous for this guy, man. I feel bad because he's only 26 years old. I mean, we're all older than Brandon Cooks, but guy's career's going to get cut short if he just takes one hit. I don't know if I would have him in the starting rotation right away. That's what makes me a little bit concerning. So, judging off of that, let's go down to the bench options. Preston Williams, I think the way the fantasy community was hyping up DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault, I think you have to say the same for Devontae Parker and Preston Williams. Look, bottom line is this. Aside from Mike Gesicki, there are only 3 reliable pass-catching options. If you want to put Breida in there, that's fine. There's only 3. There are only three guys that you can trust on a weekend base, or if Preston Williams is healthy. I think that he does a lot of the same things that Devontae Parker does. I think that Parker definitely is better contested catch rate. Um, but Williams was showing flashes. I know I picked him up last year, so I'm not a hater on Preston Williams as long as his health is, where it needs to be. Darrell Williams, I told you about how I like that lottery ticket. It's just like you're going to have to be very, very patient, or you could always ship him the Paul for something, which is probably going to happen. A.J. Dillon, look, I am an Aaron Jones truther. I don't like A.J. Dillon. I think the picture that surfaced on Twitter, got everybody, hyped up. Rightfully so. It's a picture. We don't have much context on it. You're going to be wanting a piece of this guy just because of the way he looks. And understandably so, that's fine. I don't know what his value is going to be. I really don't know what his value is going to be by season end. So then you got the guy that's called Jared Cook. I actually like him as a value pick. I think you have Ingram in, so if Ingram goes down, you're covered at tight end. Corey Davis, I did think that you took him a little bit earlier than expected. I was doing mocks. This guy wasn't even getting drafted anymore. And I know, coming from the guy who owns an authentic Corey Davis jersey, it pains me to say this. But the bottom line, I honestly still, to this day, believe he is not a bad receiver. I watched film on this guy. He's really not that bad. The only problem is he really only runs 3 routes successfully. He runs a good out, he runs a good in, and he runs a decent post when healthy. But the problem is injuries have plagued this guy's career. 2 years ago when he was getting that hype, man, he was a volume hog, man, in the LaFleur offense. And I felt like he could have been the next alpha to take that next step. And he's never had 1,000 yards. But I feel bad because I really do think he's good. If he's off of Tennessee by this year, I'm taking him next year wherever he goes if it's a pass-first offense because I do think he is a valuable receiver. James Washington, look, there's a chance that DeAndre Johnson doesn't hit. Steven Sims, look, this guy had a fantastic December. If Steven Sims plays the slot role and gets return yards, you might have just found yourself like a new age Jarvis Landry from Miami. Whoa, I know, right? Deion Lewis, whatever. New England's D and Philly's D, man, you are strong at the defensive side. I'll give you that. New England playing at home against Miami, looking for the revenge game of what Fitzpatrick did to them last year. And Philly against Washington, I think these are fantastic matchups. I'm just calling by week 1. So how do I think this team is going to pan out in the long run? This is a interesting team because I don't think it has an identity yet. So I'm not going to get too hyped on it, but I'm not going to get too low on it. Why am I not getting too low? You have the number 1 quarterback. You have a number 1 wide receiver. You have a lot of good value picks. You have Christian Kirk. And you do have, I think, what I envision happening is David Johnson either gets traded, cut. He's not panning out. I hate David Johnson. Bottom line. Mark Ingram will step into a nice RB2 role. You then have Brandon Cooks. I don't know how healthy he is. Bottom line is, unless trades are made, I think the guys on your bench that are really going to have to take your team to the next step is going to be, if you want upside, you need Preston Williams. If you want floor, you're going to go with Steven Sims. Because I don't see it from Corey Davis and James Washington. Darrell Williams is interesting because I do feel like he's a good trading piece to, Paul. I get it. But you could even start him and even package somebody else. Because like I said, this definitely does not have an identity. This team does not have an identity yet. But the biggest X factor for you personally is Evan Ingram has to play a full 16. If Evan Ingram plays a full 16, I think you're going to finish with a top 5 tight end. He might have potential for top 3. So how do I rank this team? I think it's definitely got playoff potential. It's just a matter of what pieces are going to get moved. Am I down on this team? No. Am I overly optimistic? No. I think he's middle of the pack for where he has it as of right now. I'm not going to give an evaluation on my team, so the next one that is on this list is my man, Alan Williams. Look, I called you the Majin Buu of fantasy, or the zero RB savant. So, and I called your quarterback like that. I should have put money on that. Look, I am going to confidently say to myself that this is a team that I like. I think it has, in my personal opinion, I'm going to say this, I think this team has top 3 of most upside if it hits. I'm a very big fan of this team. I think you're starting like last year. I think you took too many of these random rookie or backups, and you never had a starter, and it kind of cost you. That's why you had to trade for Le'Veon Bell. So let's talk about what we have. You win Michael Thomas, Kenny Golladay, DJ Chark, Terry McLaurin. All of those guys rank inside my top 20. Almost all of them, Allen, are in my top 15. The only one who's just outside is McLaurin, but he's like my wide receiver 18. I love these receivers that you have, and I don't see any single one of them busting. I don't know if this is how you plan this out, and I know tooting your own horn is never a good thing because I know how cocky you like to get, but Michael Thomas is going to see targets. Golladay is going to see the most valuable targets on the Detroit Lions offense. Chark is going to get 10 a game, and I think McLaurin, same thing, dude. You are getting guys that are going to benefit from game script. The guys you have, J.K. Dobbins and Marlon Mack, I think Dobbins was hyped up, but I don't like him in Baltimore until somebody goes down. Marlon Mack is starting for the time being, but here's why I love you even more. DeAndre Swift on the bench, Antonio Gibson on the bench, Tevin Coleman on the bench, Latavius Murray on the bench, Naheem Hines. You've got stacked roster, bro. Like, you have a really, really good stacked bench for lottery tickets. Bottom line is, last year you couldn't figure something out. Worst comes to worst, you're starting Marlon Mack and Latavius Murray, and with these receivers, it's fine. Obviously, tight end, you're hurting, which is fine. Don't know why you have Washington football defense. I guess it's a homer pick. Robbie Anderson, who knows? I don't know with Teddy Bridgewater's arm. He's going to be very limited on the routes that he can run with Teddy B. Anthony Miller, though, I want to mention, is a really nice pick. I think you got him at a really good discount. I don't know if you'll ever start him over any of your receivers just because you're stacked. Anthony Miller's got wide receiver 2 potential. I just didn't take him because of the health. But he's good. We've been hyping up this guy for the last 3 years now. Bravo, my friend. I'm very, very big on this team. I think this is going to be a very competitive team. I would even go out of my way to say that this already, if upside does hit, and I think it's because he has stars in his running back spots, and you're covered your ass at so many levels on running back. I think you learned what not to do last year. I'm very, very big on this team. You'll find a tight end. There are tons. Me and you, we're on the same wavelength on how to draft. Love it. I think you really nailed this draft. I think you've got a lot of upside on the bench. This is I would, unless you do something retarded as far as trades and stuff, dude, I'm already putting this team in the playoffs, bottom line. Who had the number? Oh, number 4. I had to think to myself, who was it again? So we had Allen, and the draft shifted to B Magic. So B Magic, let me give you an honest opinion on on your team as soon as I can find. Yeah, your team name is B Magic. So as of right now, we don't know what our tight end situation is. You have Gronk and Hooper, so I'm assuming that's fine. All right. Drew Brees, we've heard the story about Drew Brees forever now. When he's at home, he puts up numbers. When he's on the road, you don't like it. So take it with a grain of salt. Adam Thielen, great value pick. I think your first 3 picks, when I saw how you drafted, you let the draft come to you. You took Zeke at a discount. You took, who was it? Aaron Jones, who, ask anybody in this league, I am the biggest believer in Aaron Jones. You took him at a discount. You took freaking, Adam Thielen at a good value pick. I think your first 3 picks I'm on board with. Loved every single one of them. I think these are guys that could definitely finish in top 10 in their own position. So I think you nailed it there. Now let's see how the team is constructed. Adam Thielen with Keenan Allen is the definition of let me get my points and not worry about, if they're going to bust. I think that, on a week-to-week basis, I think Thielen and Keenan Allen can't bust because they're slot receiver guys, and a lot of corners don't have that much range to cover slot receiver guys. Keenan Allen, okay, I don't think we'll ever see the dominant wide receiver 1 just because of the offense that he plays in, but he's still one of the purest route runners in the National Football League. I really, really like this pick a lot. Especially with no Mike Williams. I think he's going to get a lot of targets. I don't think the Chargers are going to be that good this year either, so more pass volume. Your flex situation is where I think is going to be where you're going to have to dictate what you're going to do moving forward. Now, Mostert has the job for now. My only concern is, does Kyle Shanahan mix in three backs like he did last year? If you're looking at it, Mostert was good once another running back went down. Le'Veon Bell, you heard me in the previous video, dude. You better be praying day in and day out. Either he's going to get traded, he's going to get cut. I feel bad for him. I don't think he's bad. It's just that Adam Gase is just a dumbass. But then I look at your bench, and there are some promising guys that you could start. I know a Cowboy favorite, CeeDee Lamb. I really like CeeDee Lamb a lot. I think that if he's going to move into that permanent slot, Dak is a guy who is going to take the easy, path to targets for his receivers, and he's going to take that slot role over the middle of the field. Fitzgerald, I don't know if he's going to take any like really, really good games. Hunter Renfrow, I don't know what that situation is going to be. I left out Emmanuel Sanders. He could potentially be a really good receiver for the Saints. I don't know. Like, the targets go to like two people. It's Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara when he's healthy. Can he step up? Maybe. San Francisco 49ers defense, as long as they're all healthy and together, I like them. Oh, I missed some other bench guys, and my apologies. Like Chase Claypool a lot if James Washington can't step it up, which is probably going to happen. And then you said, fuck it, take it, Bacon Mayfield. My opinion on this team, I do think that when I look at the top half of the roster, I like your starting six, and the flexes I think are going to have to figure themselves out. I do think you do have a guaranteed, like, you have a really good floor, and that's always going to help you because I think you're getting guaranteed points from your starters. Like, I don't see these guys necessarily having really bad off weeks. What I mean by that is, like, I don't see Adam Thielen getting you like a donut or like 2 points. I think worst case scenario for like the Thielens and the Keenan Allens of the world, they're like 8 to 10. And Zeke's a workhorse too. So it's just a matter of if these flexes are going to pan out. If Le'Veon Bell was guaranteed to get the touches, you're looking at a guy who's going to get you 12 a week, which is great. I just don't know what Gase is going to do. And Mostert is kind of the same thing. We don't know. There's big question marks, but I think you might be able to figure it out. I do put yourself now, if I'm ranking, is this team like, does it have the potential to go all the way? Is it a playoff team, middle of the pack, or am I just going to say I freaking hate this team? I think you're more so middle of the pack with a playoff ticket on the horizon. I just don't, my thing is, I don't know how these flexes are going to pan out. Like Le'Veon Bell, the player, hate his coach. I know I sound like a broken record at this point. When we talk about Raheem Mostert, I like the talent a lot. I just don't know how he's going to be split up. Like last year, everybody thought it was Breida. All of a sudden, you have like 4 running backs getting in the game. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen here? I am not down on this team by any means. I would say it's middle of the pack. It's got a good floor. You really need Mostert, Bell, or even CeeDee Lamb, I feel like, to take this team to the next level. Okay, David Krier, thank you for coming back to the league. I appreciated your service last year, and I love having you as a good competitor. And I loved hearing the stories at the pumpkin patch last year when you were always checking and you're taking it seriously. I love the competitive nature in you, bro. Thank you. Yahoo has anointed you the best draft, and you are projected one of the highest teams. You're one of the 2 or 3 teams I believe to be projected into the 130s. Let's see how I personally feel about it. How did you do in this draft? So, okay, David, I feel like your draft was like last year. I think there were some picks that were questionable and they panned out. Like I remember last year when I was doing I don't even remember if I did a podcast last year, but Alshon Jeffrey I did not like by any means last year, but I liked Allen Robinson. I felt like Derrick Henry was a good value where you took him, and those picks kind of panned out. Let's see how everything works out for you in this one. Probably one of the biggest Deshaun Watson fans. I love his game, so you know how I feel about that. I think he's going to have to run a lot more, which could probably bode well better for his fantasy production. They do not have any good running backs for the red zone. It's going to be all him. Juju Smith-Schuster and DK Metcalf. Well, I've always been a believer that Juju needs Ben to stay healthy so he can produce. DK Metcalf, I do expect him to take that next step. I think you got him at a great value. You're always a drafter who drafts for value. I don't think you ever do anything stupid. Dalvin Cook, look, if he's going to be out there and he's 100% healthy, he's a top 5 running back. Kenyon Drake, I know the injury concern. We don't know yet. As of right now, excuse me, he's going to get all this volume, these catches, and everything, dude. He's probably going to succeed if he can stay healthy. That's the biggest thing, because he hasn't been able to do that on the NFL level. But opportunity is there. You got your man again, George Kittle, which was a great pick. I know he's dealing with some hamstring tightness, but maybe they'll get that fixed. Ronald Jones back at practice after a foot injury. Now, I don't know what you were reading into, but this guy's hype was getting out of control, which is why I was totally off of it. I know in May it was Keyshawn Vaughn who everybody predicted to be the back that they were going to anoint the starter, and Ronald Jones was like a 7th, 10th round pick. Now it's reversed. Ronald Jones went in the 5th round, and Vaughn, I think, went around that range. If he's going to get I don't think he's going to get the 3rd down role, but if he's going to get the bulk of the touches and stay healthy, he could pan out. I loved John Brown last year. I don't know what his targets are going to look like with Stephon Diggs there, so it might be a little concerning, but for what Josh Allen does best, he does best, so it's a match made in heaven. James White, I think this is a guy you can plug and play if one of your flexes doesn't pan out, so I like your coverage there. Curtis Samuel's not a bad player. I do think that he's going to be competing for number 2 in targets behind DJ Moore. It's either going to be him or Anderson. You put your money on Curtis Samuel being the guy. And they only have Ian Thomas, so whatever. Adrian Peterson is just a guy. I never take him anymore just because I know it's going to be short-lived and there's not much upside with him. I guess this is a bye week fill-in for whenever you need him. I like Lazard. Goddard, we're already hearing Jalen Reagor got hurt already, so I think Goddard's going to have a role. Giovanni Bernard, Joe Mixon, we don't know what's up with that. Alshon Jeffrey, David, if you need, you could put, I think you could play, I don't know if you can put him on an IR list because of its pup. I don't know. Cam Newton, solid. Christian Thompson, or Chris Thompson, excuse me, not Christian Thompson. Solid pick, and then you got the Pittsburgh D. I'll be right back for one. Next thing that I want to talk about with David's team, how much upside does this kid have? Well, you got a top 5 quarterback. You have guys that have top 10 receiving potential. I know Juju last year, everybody thought top 5. We have to scale that back a bit. Do you have top 5 running back potential? I think if you told me Drake played a full 16, got all the workload in the Arizona fast-paced offense, yeah, you got 2 guys that have top 5 potential. Absolutely. You got a tight end that has top 5 potential. Holy crap, that's like a lot. This is why I think the draft was very high on you, because they can finish at top 10, top 5 at their positions. Maybe not Metcalf, but I do feel like he's top 15 at least. Jones, okay, Ronald Jones, I think he's your biggest X factor to take this team to the next level. I really think he is. I think he's a guy that if he's going to get the opportunities and, pound in a touchdown or 2, he's going to live up to expectations for you on a week-to-week basis, especially now when you have a good defense and a quarterback that's not going to turn it over. I think, look, there's hype. I get the hype. I just hate Ronald Jones, the player, but rightfully so, the situation that he's in is pretty good. John Brown, the abolitionist. I think where it comes from, what's going to make or break your team, the X factor is Ronald Jones. And who your last flex is going to be between, it looks like you're going the receiver route. My guess would be it's between John Brown, Allen Lazard, maybe even Dallas Goedert if he gets a lot of run with the starters. And then you have Pittsburgh D, which last year, if you're buying into it, they were fantastic for fantasy football. David Krier, I like your team a lot. I will say that it is a playoff team. All right, Rob Coffey, you're really starting to push this marathon thing seriously. Now, for a Nip Hustle fan, I respect it. I was kind of, I don't know where you came up with the whole 26 miles thing with it. Oh, now I got it. God damn it, dude. Why did that came over my head? Miles. Oh, Jesus Christ. I'm sorry. So tell Papa Coffee I didn't mean to curse like that. Just thinking in my head. All right, let's break it down, kiddo. You got freaking 132, bastard. You already getting these high projections. All right, Coffee, let's see how you really feel about this shit. Bottom line, what are we looking at? Okay, you've got your sex doll at quarterback, so that's cool. Chris Godwin and Calvin Ridley is fantastic. The way that's set up, I know you weren't expecting Calvin Ridley. You come to your senses, Coffee. I like it because you're getting the floor guy in Godwin. You're getting the upside guy that can win you weeks in Calvin Ridley. And who knows, maybe he takes the next step forward. I love this combination a lot. I like it a lot. I would say that this might be the second best receiver combination as far as upside is concerned. I think the Allen version of Galladay and Michael Thomas would be one. I will say that your combination of Godwin and Ridley definitely has the second most upside, and then I would say mine would probably be third, just because I feel like there's more floor. I feel like with mine than there is with the upside factor. All right, so I'm looking at this right now, and you capitalize on the value with the Ridley pick, which then your team starts to pick up. You know, Miles Sanders and James Conner. I actually do like this combination a lot. Again, this is why sorry, I got something caught in my mouth. This is why when I looked at the first half of the draft and the back half of the draft, and I'm looking at like how was strategy being in place, there were more reach and strategic-based drafters on the ends, and you were smack in the middle, and you let the draft come to you in this one, and I think you did a fantastic job. James Conner, I would say, is the definition of the X factor. If this team wants to go to the promised land, if this team wants to make the playoffs, it's because James Conner is staying healthy and he is producing at an RB1 level. Somebody did say, though, and it's fair, if you paced out Conner's games, if he was healthy, this guy would be end of the first round, second round pick. It's just health. The health concern is the reason why he's in the third round. So perfectly fine. Don't have a problem with it. Hawkinson, man, that's another X factor, man. You are really going to the poker table and putting all your chips in for this guy to break out. I love it, Coffee, bro. Fucking love it. Flexes. Gallup and Will Fuller. I'm trying to remember there's a year this team reminds me. Maybe it was last year. Coffee, correct me if I'm mistaken. I think didn't you start out 4-0 last year? And then you went on a losing streak. Like, your flexes remind me of that. And that's why I think top half, what I just named, fantastic. I give your top half of the team an A+. This flex combination that you got going here is what could definitely make this team one of the most scariest teams, because Will Fuller, like, if he doesn't play a full 16, we know the drill. Like, fuck this guy. But the bottom line is this, Coffee. You drafted this guy, you have to start him every week. I don't care if there's a guy you're contemplating on, you can't leave this guy on the bench. You're going to have to live with the 3 points, and then you're going to have to celebrate when he drops a 30 bomb. Michael Gallup, like him, I know we talked, it's funny because you didn't like Fuller, you didn't like Gallup, you didn't like Ridley, and you have all three of them. But again, you're playing the value. You're not doing something stupid like you used to do. It's fine. Michael Gallup, though, I do think because of the rapport with Dak, will still be number 2 in targets. McCarthy has featured guys, 3 guys with targets. This is a fine pick. I've got no issues with this guy at all, especially because he's your flex. He's not your wide receiver, too. Let's look at the bench and see if there's any guys that could definitely be backups or worst case scenarios or, potential guys. Damian Harris. You apparently are big on this guy. Look, I'm not buying any Patriot talk. If he works out, Coffee, then good for you, but I can't buy it. Kerryon Johnson, like, in theory, I get it. Like, you have to get the starter for a team. Swift's leg injury, there's no updated on it whatsoever. So the bottom line is this. This is the funniest thing. Last year, everybody hyped up Kerryon Johnson as a second-round pick, and it could explode on the scene, okay? And then because he gets hurt and they draft DeAndre Swift, everybody's like, yep, this guy sucks. I think that's why you were saying him and Marlon Mack were getting too much hate. They're just guys that are good, but they're not great. So if you're telling me there's no DeAndre Swift by week 1, you're getting what Kerryon Johnson was supposed to be last year, which wasn't great, but he was producing at a 5th-round running back level. Because I think before the draft, I think I had Kerryon Johnson as like a 4th, 5th-round pick. It was just a matter of health and concerns. Will this guy run away with the job? Absolutely not. Detroit is becoming little New England with running backs, but if you need to start him, I guess. Jerick McKinnon, good lottery pick. Perriman, I don't know what to do with. I'm more on the no side than I am on the yes side with this kid. Bryce Love could get cut. Josh Reynolds, for whatever reason. I'm a big Josh Reynolds guy, but you like him a lot more this year. Ian Thomas is a good dart throw at tight end. I know DFS. I love playing him when he's 3K. Hopefully he stays that way this year, which wouldn't be good for you, though. Scotty Miller. Hype, I guess. Airborne, Kendrick Bourne. I think Bourne is the only receiver that I feel like has the best floor on this team, just because with all the injuries, he's going to stay permanent slot, and I think he could have a decent year. What's with this Colts pick? I get it. I think they're a good real life defense. Maybe you prove me wrong, Coffee. I know this is your dark horse team. I know you're going to Vegas. You're putting up all your chips in on the Indianapolis Colts and shit. All right, let's go. All right, I got to speed it up. Okay. When I look at this right here, you have a top 5 quarterback. You have a receiver that's got top 5 potential. You have another receiver that's got top 10 potential. You have 2 backs that if they play a full 16, they are top 10 backs. I can't say Connor has top 5 potential. Don't give me that nonsense, Coffee. There are much more. Okay, all right. If I'm not comparing to other backs, fine, I'll say that. But Miles Sanders does have top 5 potential. T.J. Hawkinson. If he gets as a tight end, it's going to be middling of the pack. Gallup and Fuller do have top 20 wide receiver upside. It's just a matter of health with one of them. How does this team, am I anointing this team a playoff team? I absolutely am. I just think that they are covered in a lot of aspects where if a running back goes down, he's set. If a receiver goes down, as long as it's not, that's the thing. Let me rephrase this. As long as it's not one of Godwin or Ridley, I do think you have okay backup plans, but it doesn't matter. Like, whatever. Solid overall draft. Coffee, you did really good. The biggest X factor though is James Conner. If this guy stays healthy, I think this team's potential is like semifinals. Like it's got its goods, man.
All right, so
Dak Prescott, I do think has one of the best floors at a quarterback with a lot
guy
of
who had the number 7
pick
is a newbie to the
all in on this team as a playoff
This
team.
is Paul's friend Patrick.
Now, Patrick, I don't know much about you. I don't know any strategies about you. The only thing I do know is that you are a Falcons fan, which is probably explains the Hayden Hurst pick. So let me break down this team and how your draft kind of came out. And, where do I see this team going forward? So right off the bat, you wanted an elite quarterback. You probably have the best one in the league in Lamar Jackson. If it's not him, most likely it's going to be Patrick Mahomes. His rushing floor alone is like an RB1, and you might even get some sprinkled in passes. So, hey, this guy could be the complete weapon again. Now, the one thing that I think that was interesting with your draft, after obviously your first round pick was Kamara, there is looking like a contract dispute going on in New Orleans, so that's something that we have to keep an eye on. Michael Evans. Really, really like Mike Evans. I don't think I love him a lot to the point where I feel like he's an elite talent anymore, but I do think he's going to have games where he looks like his old self. He's going to be catching from Tom Brady now, which the only knock you can have on Mike Evans is that Brady does not have a stronger arm than Jameis Winston. So it's interesting to see how often they call Mike Evans' number. I personally like Godwin a lot better than Mike Evans, so maybe that's pretty good. You then went in the 4th round, and honestly, I think you got a good value pick. I know it's not – a lot of people hate on this guy, and I don't understand why, and that's Mr. Cortland Sutton. I think this guy's an alpha receiver. I think he's kind of like a discounted Kenny Golladay where, he's solid, he's built, and he can bully up defensive backs, and he's a big, big target. It's just a matter of how much are the Denver Broncos going to throw the ball because they have a lot of weapons. So we don't know if he's going to get peppered with targets, but bottom line is he is still the number 1 target in this passing attack. I am not hating on Cortland Sutton whatsoever. Devin Singletary is an interesting guy because I think on the projections, they have him really high. They think he's going to be this complete back. He's pretty much slotted in as an RB2. Me personally, I am more of a Zach Moss truther than I am a Devin Singletary truther. I think Singletary, once he got the reins last year and they said, okay, Frank Gore is really, really old, he looked decent at times, but I think he was only serviceable because he got a lot of volume. He might get toned down just a bit. I think this is going to be a 60-40 backfield, so I don't know how serviceable Singletary is going to be by season's end. Hayden Hurst was your guy, and I know I put that under a questionable pick in the 7th round. I'm assuming you're feeling the Falcons' love here. I don't know how else to explain it other than that. So, yeah. Now, I can't recall when you took Jarvis Landry. That was either 6th, 7th, or 8th. But bottom line, I think he's a definition of you know what you're getting out of the guy. If he's going to get targets, he's going to get, a range of 10 to 15 points in a half-point PPR league. He's going to be hard to trust on a week-to-week basis, though, just because you don't know if those targets are going to be there, and we don't know if Odell Beckham is going to take that next step up. But here's the good news. As long as Odell Beckham is on the outside, this guy is going to eat over the middle of the field because they're not going to double-team him. His first year in Cleveland, they didn't have an outside threat, and which is why there were games where he struggled as the elite alpha. Took a huge risk here, but me being an Oakland Raiders truther, you took Henry Ruggs the third. So I like the pick. Hold on, I need a sip of coffee. I like Henry Ruggs. But I don't know how this Raiders passing tree, aside from Waller, is the biggest question mark as far as a receiving core. Is Ruggs going to get peppered with targets immediately? Based on him being a first-round pick, probably. You're hearing positive reports out of Bryan Edwards at camp, and they still have Hunter Renfrow. So if you're relying on him, here's the thing with Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs is a guy who's going to win you weeks, but he's going to be very, very inconsistent. I think Henry Ruggs is now going to be put on that Will Fuller, Marvin Jones, Deshaun Jackson, make it or break it kind of weeks. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about your bench and if there's anything here. Breida, I just feel like, is a fill-in guy. I don't see much upside with Matt Breida in a Dolphins uniform. Duke Johnson is kind of the same way I feel about Breida. Noah Fant, I like a lot. I like Noah Fant. You've got both Courtland Sutton and Noah Fant. Hey, if it works out, you might as well just start Drew Lock. You never know. Brandon Ayuk. Now, this guy was generating buzz all in July once Deebo Samuel came down with an injury. Well, now Brandon Ayuk is hurt and Deebo Samuel is back on a rehab. Here's the only thing that I want to say about Brandon Ayuk. Injury severity is up in the air, but here's the big but. If Deebo Samuel comes back, he's going to get re-injured, and if Ayuk is still rehabbing and they bring him back, he's going to fit in that role very, very perfectly. So it's a lottery ticket, I would say. D.D. Westbrook, look, I had this guy last year, and he burned me so bad, bro. My apologies that you took him. Ito Smith, not a big Ito Smith fan. Gus Edwards, very, very underrated if Mark Ingram was to go down. Joe Burrow, like to pick up. Oh, you have a lot of Broncos, man. I guess you're buying all in on the hype. Hamler is a nice pick. I know he got hurt. He probably would have been picked a lot earlier, to be honest. And then you have Buffalo D, who, honestly, by matchup, they're going to be fantastic, especially when they play the New York Jets week 1 at home, nonetheless. Gotta like that. How do I see this team moving forward? Well, bottom line is this. Lamar Jackson's not going to let you down. Mike Evans is a big question mark. I think he's going to be fine. It's just, can he be elite? I think he's good. Can he be elite with Tom Brady? Alvin Kamara should be fine. So here are the X factors on your team in particular, where I feel like these guys need to really pay off in order for you to make the playoffs with this roster. Hayden Hurst being number 1. You spent a 7th round pick, and you're really, really putting your faith in this guy. Being a Falcons fan, who knows? But, tight ends with Matt Ryan tend to produce. And according to Matt Ryan, he says that Hayden Hurst is one of the best tight ends that he's ever played with. I think he even said that he was better than Tony Gonzalez. I am not going to go that far, let's be honest. But, hey, YOLO, right? Devin Singletary is the other X factor. This guy needs to hold on to his job because I'm a big Zach Moss. I can't even speak. Zach Moss truther. So if this guy can't get on the field, Zach Moss meaning, Devin Singletary should fit in fine with behind Kamara in your stacked roster. It's a little hard to see who your flexes are going to be. I think you're just going to play it by flavor of the week. Ruggs is going to be very, very hard to trust unless they're really scheming hard for him. I know he's a first-round pick, so that's what they bought him in there for. But Oakland has a very conservative offensive approach. They only throw when they need to. I think the offense is going to revolve around Josh Jacobs. I feel like this team is kind of, as of right now, has a lot of upside in some areas, and then there's still things like the flex areas that I think are going to have to be played week to week. So it's more of a management decision on how this team is going to go moving forward. But I do see a lot of potential that this team can definitely make the playoffs. All right, Johnny. Johnny, I think if you saw the last video, I know sometimes it depends on the mood if you want to listen to my videos or not. But your definition of a draft was how it is every single freaking year. you take advantage of some value, and value did occur in this one. I think, rounds 1 to 6 definitely were all value picks. Just give me a second. And you got away with trades that worked in your favor. You really, really worked out on those. So props to you, my man. First of all, one of my predictions was that you were going to wind up with Odell Beckham, and I knew that was going to happen. There was no way in hell I was saying anybody else is taking Odell Beckham, because I think if you looked at the guys behind you, maybe one of the newbies because he's a brand name, but yeah, Odell Beckham to Johnny was a lock. Let's talk about how the draft started for you. I did not expect Derrick Henry to fall to you at all. My gut feeling is, I think when we mocked, you had David Krier in at him, and Coffey, I think, was bullshitting Kamara. I think a lot of, well, according to Horse, you called it, but you never know. So I think maybe you would have went Edwards-Helaire in that regard. So let's talk about how the team is constructed. Derrick Henry will be a beast if he gets the volume, but the one thing that I love that you did here is that you literally have two different styles of running backs that complement each other in the way a roster is supposed to be constructed, and that's Derrick Henry and Austin Eckler. You have one guy who's going to get a lot of volume, basically just running the ball down everybody's throats. Then you got a guy in Austin Eckler who is the quote-unquote Swiss Army knife bell cow. And I put a question mark on that because you know me, love Austin Eckler. When Edwards-Helaire, just to backtrack for a second, when Edwards-Helaire was announced as starter, I bumped Eckler down from RB7 to RB8. So he is still an RB1 in my book. I think you got incredible value there. So the next one was Beckham. I just feel like was appropriately priced. If you want to say value, hey, by all means, I'm not fighting you off of it. This guy is probably the best value pick you had, but again, Allen Robinson was going to be my stab with DJ Moore until I saw that there was an ankle injury. There was no other reports about the ankle injury. I played it safe, if you want to call it that. You had the opportunity to trade, and you wanted him because this is a guy who's probably going to finish top 5 in targets. This Bears offense is atrocious. He's the only positive sign that you want to own this year. Maybe Anthony Miller if he's healthy, though. Really, really, really like that pick a lot. If everything breaks right for you. And then you did the trade to get your guy, Mark Andrews. So obviously there's some familiarity with that one. Now, this is where I look at the draft, and I think the top half that I just named, so your receivers, your running backs, your tight end, and your quarterback, Wentz is hurt, but you got the great backup plan in Tom Brady. The flexes, again, is where I think this is how you drafted last year. The flexes were never kind of determined. It was on a week-to-week basis, and let's see if you have the guys to do that. Julian Edelman, look, and in theory, I think he'll be fine with Cam Newton. We never know, though. Jerry Jeudy, I just don't know. I don't know how often Denver throws, which is why I think he was a great value at the 10th round pick, but I don't know if this is a team that's going to throw, there are a lot of truthers out there, fantasy hype guys, that think the fact that they bought in all these pass attack guys means that they're going to throw a lot this year, but as long as they have a solid defense in Vic Fangio, I don't know how many games they're going to need to throw. But Jerry Jeudy's talent alone, he's probably going to finish by season's end. If you were to tell me, hey, is he going to be a wide receiver 2 by season's end? And now what formulates as a wide receiver 2, finished in the top 24 because we are a 12-team league. Sure, it wouldn't shock me at all. I mean, there's a lot of talent left on the board, but that wouldn't shock me. Your bench. You told me your favorite pick was Jordan Howard. No. I just, my whole thing was the only way you draft Jordan Howard is if you're on that Allen echelon and you're saying, I need a running back because I stacked on too many receivers. So that's what I'm going to say with that. Take a sip. Next thing that I want to talk about, you have Sterling Shepard. Now, if you could promise me, Johnny, that Sterling Shepard would play a full 16. Okay, you look at me. You tell me he's going to play a full 16 games, this guy's going to finish as a really good wide receiver too, because I feel like this guy shows flashes every freaking time he is on the field. He's a good receiver, but concussions, it's always something with this guy. So you take a flyer on it in the round that you got him, so I'm not hating on it too much. I had him down at wide receiver 50-something just because I know he's not going to stay healthy. Darrell Henderson, you were big on. He's got the hamstring injury. He's behind the 8 ball. Whatever. He's made some impacts from from year 1 to year 2 from what I'm hearing. But I just feel like it's going to be hard for him to kind of get that job. I think it's going to be mostly Cam Akers and Malcolm Brown, and he's just kind of being thrown off to the side for now because he's hurt. I don't know. Like Boston Scott as a lottery ticket. Tyler Higbee, I think, was incredible value. You need to answer this question, though. Why in God's name, when you have Mark Andrews, I understand Tyler Higbee. There was no need to take Mike Gesicki. I know Mike Gesicki is probably going to fit into the Dolphins' passing attack plans, but hey. Then you just picked up Devonta Freeman. Your defenses, you are swinging them around. Got to be honest with you, I don't understand the hype in the Rams, D. I'm kind of lost why you did that. And then you had New Orleans defense. I had New Orleans last year, and they were fantastic. They were very, very good for me. And then I think later on, I think December, they started to collapse, which was so weird because they got Janoris Jenkins, and then their defense was just in shootouts again. The games against the Buccaneers with Jameis Winston is when they feasted, but guess what? He's not there. I think the divisional games where you're going to get a lot of points from the New Orleans Saints are going to be when they play the Carolina Panthers because they're going to be trailing from behind. Johnny, how do I see your team? Top half of the roster looks great. You are going to need to really be a magical wizard and decide week in, week out who those last flexes are going to be. If you remember at this point in time last year, you had Will Fuller on the bench. He wasn't producing. You had Marvin Jones sometimes on the bench because he wasn't producing. But you got rid of those deep threat guys. I feel like if you have them, you have to start them. You got fed up. You wound up shipping off LaShawn McCoy for nothing, I think. Or maybe you traded for him. I don't remember how the story went. But you traded in your management, I do trust. You do have a title now, so I'm not knocking it. The only thing that I'm saying, this is a playoff team, absolutely. I'm not denying that. The one thing that is going to have to take this team to the next level is deciding who those flexes are going to be. So my X factor is to take you to the next step. Mark Andrews has to have a repeat season, especially since you got him at a value in the 5th round. The other X factor, look, I'm just going to have to flat out say it, is Odell Beckham. I think he was okay last year, but not what people bought in for him last year. And obviously the fantasy counselor is not very happy with you for picking that. So that Lion mentality was not there with that pick, my friend. Now when we go with the bench spots, guys, the only ones that I feel like that could take your team to the next level, in all honesty, would be Boston Scott and Tyler Higbee if they hit up to their hype. Bottom line, am I saying this is going to be a playoff team? Look, I got to respect the management. Unfortunately, like 3 years ago when I had my old laptop, I had everybody's career records. I don't have that anymore. Gun to my head, I would say either me or Johnny has the most wins of all time, just because we've been in the league the longest, and we've also been, producing at a high level. It's either one of the two. If bottom line is whoever it isn't, they're like 1 or 2 games within reach. So that's it. I'm going to say it's a playoff team. Okay, so this, I don't know if Dave is my number 1 fan on the podcast or Paul. I know it's one of you two, Paul. I know you've been waiting. Sit back, relax, go get some popcorn or something to munch on and enjoy the show, my friend. Hold on, I'm just looking at some roster moves really quickly. Sorry. All right, we're back. Paul, man, oh man, I was so proud to just see the aggressive nature of your drafting this year, man. When you said Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I was so happy. Thank you for doing that. That was a great pick. I also said right after the draft, I also said this, my friend. What is your team name? Hold on. I'm going to find Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I also said this right after the draft. This is probably my favorite team you've drafted in a long time. And it is. But does that mean that this is probably, a top 3 team in my eyes? Well, we're just going to have to see, and you're going to have to listen, Mr. Paul. First of all, you got rid of Jalen Reagor, and I like what you got out of it. So right off the bat, your management is on point even. Congratulations, bud. Okay. Without further ado, and by the way, the person you did get for that, I'm very intrigued about his services. Okay. Let's talk about Mr. Paul's team. I think right off the bat, man, I was very impressed with this team. This team is very, very similarly constructed by David's team from 2 years ago, and we know these two have the coaching tree thing going on. I see a lot of similarities here, but there's a lot of players I like. How's it going to fit in the long run when you construct a quote-unquote elite team? First and foremost, Clyde Edwards-Helaire loved it. And then you said to yourself, I stacked Chiefs last year. I'm going to stack Chiefs this year. Travis Kelce, one thing that I like that you did, and I don't know if this is why you did this, but if you didn't and you want to steal it from me, I give you the permission. You know why, Paul? Because I really, really respect this draft. You said to yourself, let me get the best red zone options that the Kansas City Chiefs have, and that's their running back, and that is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. The only thing that sucks, the third option is Pat Mahomes running it in. But it's okay. It's all right. I mean, you really love stacking this Chiefs team, and when you said you know who it is, just put him on the board. You ride or die with your guys, so I respect it. Loyalty. Next guy you went with was the only guy where I felt like maybe I would have taken a step back. Chris Carson, I love as a real-life NFL back, but my only concern with Chris Carson, good news, Rashard Penny is not going to come back this season because he had the late ACL tear. Bad news, they bring in Carlos Hyde. They bring in DJ Dallas, who is pretty much, bottom line, is what they wanted CJ Prosise to be. Now, if you go all the way back, Paul, 3 years ago when CJ Prosise was getting the hype like it was none other in the Seattle backfield, that was some big hype. I think DJ Dallas can deliver. My only biggest concern here, they want to be a run-first team, but they got to let Russ cook. That's what I'm saying. Carson is a guy where on film he looks like an animal, but he's a guy that I think about with Ryan Matthews. I know I'm going to bring him up. I still think, even when he was solid, Ryan Matthews was a really good running back. It was just fumbling issues. And if he starts fumbling, they now have a boring veteran in Carlos Hyde. In this, right now, he is getting the full workload. But I think as the season progresses, his volume is going to go down. And are they going to trust him at the goal line? I hope to God the answer is yes, because I like Chris Carson. But that's my main concern with Chris Carson. But let's go back to the positives. I know I probably gave you a little scare there. Cooper Kupp, look, you took him right after Robert Woods when you did the trade with David. And me personally, I don't have an issue with this pick. I know he's got an ankle injury. I don't know who in their minds is stupid enough to think that this guy's not going to be on the field. Jared Goff is clearly better when he is on the field. It is a proven fact. It is not fiction. This guy's a monster. So you're going to need him to be healthy, and Goff needs him to be healthy, which is the most important thing. Then things get a little bit interesting here. Even with Travis Kelce, and I saw you little searching, and I said to myself, fuck. You actually went Darren Waller, who, as you know, was the Cinderella story last year, finished as a I believe it was top 5 tight end. He's just an absolute animal. I love Darren Waller. Darren Waller is the type of guy that I think has the potential to be a tight end 1. I just think that Derek Carr, that's his eye candy over the middle of the field. They extended him to 5 years. They gave him a huge contract. This guy's a receiver playing a tight end position. The only way I feel like this guy truly busts, okay, is that Henry Ruggs becomes an alpha, Bryan Edwards becomes an alpha, and then he's just kind of like the third target. It's not going to happen. Darren Waller is an absolute animal. My only concern, and this is where I'm going with the construction of your team, is I don't think you needed him with Kelce, and I'll explain why in a minute. Deontay Johnson. This is one of my favorite lottery tickets that you could have. Mr. Deontay Johnson, if you asked me last year, okay, right after the season ended, if you tell me Ben Roethlisberger has a healthy arm all season long, I probably would have taken this guy in the 5th round. I was very, 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 very high on him. And look, it's no surprise there. I took Lockett in the 3rd, so you know how much I like my guys. I like Deontay Johnson. I know he's dealing with some minor injury. The whole fantasy community wants this kid to break out. He was the most common breakout guy who, as the season ended, he was under the radar, and then all it takes is one expert to say he's good, and then everybody claims him as his own. Bottom line, Paul, I was the first one on this guy, okay? Just know that. Bench. Phillip Lindsay, another good Nicky guy. I feel bad for this guy because I don't know if he's going to get the quote-unquote valuable touches. Lindsay's a guy that I like. But unfortunately, he's now splitting work, and he's not a very good pass-catching running back. It's very hard to predict what his future is going to be in Denver. I feel bad for him because I think he's a better runner than Melvin Gordon, but Melvin Gordon can do a lot more for the team than Phillip Lindsay. Keyshawn Vaughn, I think he took him a little too early, but you know me, I don't like Ronald Jones, so anybody behind Ronald Jones, why not? Golden Tate, kind of a boring pick at this point, but he gets the job done. Carlos Hyde, you do have the handcuff. Why do you have Jalen Richard every year? Malcolm Brown, whatever, it's kind of fuck it at that point. Daniel Jones for Russell Wilson, who I didn't talk about, which I'll get to. Jamal Williams, and I like Kareem Hunt on the bench. Baltimore D, love that as well. Russell Wilson, let Russ cook, I can't even say it. Russell Wilson is my number 4 quarterback this year. The only thing I don't understand what you did here, I don't like how you have Russell Wilson and Chris Carson. This is not going to end well. It's very rare that if Carson has a touchdown, it's very rare that you get a touchdown game at a Carson and a 3-touchdown game at a Russell Wilson. It would have to be an amazing shootout. The bottom line is this. I don't know if this is going to coexist. I never like to have a quarterback and a running back stack. I think the only exceptions would be those top-tier echelon offenses. Talking about New Orleans back in the day. I'm talking about Kansas City with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. To an extent, if you want to even say Lamar Jackson, Mark Ingram, maybe, but hey, I don't like how that's constructed. I don't know if this is going to be. Bottom line is, I think Carson's going to get dealt. If you're in love with Daniel Jones, maybe you trade Russell Wilson, but I don't think the way it's constructed, it's going to work out. And I like a lot of the picks that you had, but my issue is the flow of this. I don't even think I talked about Marvin Jones. One thing I'll say about Marvin Jones really quickly, you need to, Paul, every time I see you, I know you like to play your guessing game with who your last flex is going to be. If you own Marvin Jones, you're committed to starting him every single week. You cannot play the guessing game with guys like him, Will Fuller, and Deshaun Jackson, because the minute you bench them, the minute they go off. There's a lot of weird things that are going to have to be figured out. The 2 tight ends and Chris Carson with Russell Wilson. But I do think there is a David Sutton that you are very close friends with, or somebody else maybe in the league, that you can get a deal done to get this job done. Does this team have the talent? Absolutely, to go to the playoffs. It's going to come down to management and what pieces get moved, because I don't think if you went into the playoffs like this, having Carson and Wilson limits your upside. It secures your floor. And I just don't know, unless Darren Wall, I know you always run the 2 tight end strategy. I think you had Kelsey and Ertz one year too, or maybe you got rid of one of them. I don't know. But me personally, I do not like starting 2 tight ends, but these guys are 2 that are startable, if that makes any sense. All right, Alex, I'm going to do your team in a minute. I know you're new to the league. Welcome to the league, rookie, man. You already got hit with the unfortunate news about Leonard Fournette. Ouch. I'm sorry to hear that, bro. So I'm just going to ignore that pick. I don't want to put too much stock into it. You didn't overpay for him, but who knows? Maybe he goes to another team. I just don't think he's that bad where he's not going to find a job. I like Josh Jacobs and Nick Chubb together. I like Amari Cooper. I like Josh Allen. AJ Green, you got to hope that he stays healthy. That's the biggest concern there. McCole Hardman, I think he's a good player. I just don't know how much volume he'll get in the Kansas City offense. The other guy that I do like, though, where is he? Darius Slayton on the bench. I think he's the only giant receiver with a defined role on the outside. I'm not big on Shepard. If Mike Williams comes back, you do have Hunter Henry and who else at tight end? Zach Ertz. So you got some decent backups where if something goes wrong, you can kind of manage your way out of it. I saw that you just made a pickup for T. Higgins, who, with Joe Burrow, it's going to be, I think 2 of these Cincinnati Bengals receivers will pan out. I don't think this is a bad team. I just feel like with Leonard Fournette, it's really, really hard for you now to say, okay, who are going to be my permanent starters? But hey, your season's not over by any means, man. David in our league one year had Noshawn Marino and Ryan Grant, and they got hurt week 1, and he still won the league. And when I mean got hurt, they were out for the year. you are not out of it by any means. It is still early. There are still moves to be made. So things could happen, man. Things could happen. Um, but it's up to, I guess, management. Like for you to like take that next step into the playoffs, you need Nicole Hardman to be this absolute stud. You need Darius Slayton also to do the same. And I would even say that Hunter Henry would have to soak up a lot of targets in LA. So those would be my keys to victory. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the time has come for us to realize that this is happening. This is not fiction. This is nonfiction. This is 2019. This is not 2010. The harsh era has begun. And I gotta say I'm loving every minute of it. This team is absolutely loaded, stacked. You talk about a draft. That's a freaking draft. That's phenomenal. What's missing? The management. But everything on paper and everything that has happened, this is worth the hype this year. It absolutely is. I'm just gonna breeze by it like wow. Okay, you handcuffed both Charger backs. My only concern with the Charger backs is if this does become a split committee. But even so, if that does become the case, Phillip Rivers loves his running backs. So let's say that you could have a possible game script where Eckler gets the most yardage and Gordon has 2 touchdowns, and you might even combine 30 from both because of that. So that could work out in your favor. Chris Carson is an absolute beast. The fumbling he's still on a shorter leash, but the more games where he doesn't put it on the ground, that short leash is going to get a little bit longer. The Seahawks realize how good he is, and as he's a bruiser, man. He's one heck of a running back. I think the only pick I don't really like here on this team, to be quite honest, is David Montgomery. Flat out, I have no interest in David Montgomery at all. But we're forgetting the fact that he has yet to use Melvin Gordon this year. He has yet to use Tyreek Hill this year. Yeah, there's a lot to love about this team. I think my only, if I had to be very nitpicky, and I will, for the sake of me finding a flaw, it'd be the wide receiver too. I think Godwin is a clear alpha in this league, but Samuel would have to rotate with Pettis. But when Hill comes back, that solves everything. So I just even answered my own question. My God. Look, the only reason why we're not putting this team at 1 is because of the record at 2-2. Okay, he ran into a bump in the road in week 3, and because of the Godwin injury at 4, I am not. Look, listen here. I am not knocking you for that decision at all because I had the same thing with Cortland Sutton, and Jalen Ramsey got ruled out once the game started, so I couldn't take out Paul Richardson. So I don't have any knocks at all. When bye weeks happen, I do feel like he has even more value, and 2 phenomenal defenses as well. Look, it's the management card that's the only thing that I think would be a concern because everything else on this team looks absolutely great. It does. Best of luck to you moving forward. I hope that you make the playoffs because the only way that you miss it is if you make some boneheaded decisions. So you have your ticket, man. It's just how are you going to get to the promised land? So I love everything about this team. All right, last but not least, Mr. Jones, Andre Jones. No quarterback, so I won't talk about it. I think you saw what I think everybody else saw. You did not have a secure wide receiver 2, so you traded for T.Y. Hilton to go with Julio Jones. Joe Mixon, we're still awaiting. He missed another practice. Todd Gurley. You know how I feel about Todd Gurley. I'm not happy with him. Jonnu Smith, cool. Melvin Gordon is going to be a workhorse again. I think people are going to say, wow, why didn't I draft Melvin Gordon? I don't know, man. Why didn't you draft Melvin Gordon? Sammy Watkins, I'm sorry, I can't get behind this. David Montgomery, if he's healthy, cool. You have Tariq Cohen yet again. Justin Jackson. I am not a big Justin Jackson guy. That's why I took Joshua Kelly. Deshaun Jackson, really, really good guy to bust out. I know you were hoping Rager, but you couldn't afford to wait it out with him. I respect it. Michael Pittman should be good, but I don't know what the volume is going to be. McFarland, decent. Chenault, really like. Ryquell Armstead might be a league-winning pick now, huh? I don't know. Jalen Rager. Oh, wait, you traded for Rager. Oh, I get what you were saying. Makes perfect sense. Actually, no, you thought outside the box. I like what you did here. Bottom line, Andre, I think the health is the only thing that I think that stands in the way of this team not succeeding. Mixon's got some health concerns. Gurley's got some health concerns. But then again, I hate using that thing because it's like, look, everybody's got health concerns when they step onto a football field, and I get that. Hilton, anytime you see hamstring, you got to get rid of him. I know he had it. He's not listed on the injury report right now, but that ship has sailed for me and C.Y. Hilton. Ship has sailed. I don't know what your quarterback's going to be. It's going to be streamed by matchup. You have a lot of guys with projected volume, which I like, but I don't know if the execution is going to be there. You got some guys like for example, I think the ideal lineup is that you want Montgomery in that last flex, and you're really, really going to bank on the volume of these running backs to kind of carry you. Because that's the thing. If you just hammer volume-based running backs and your receivers are coin flips, it's usually a good formula how to win and succeed. So I'm not hating on it. It's just the health really, really concerns me, especially since you've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have 8 guys. I have to mention injury bug because it's 8 guys with no coach speak, no practice. So I think the health is the biggest concern. It's up for you to figure that one out, buddy. But I do like some of the pieces. It's just a matter of health.